So this project has been, I've been interested in it since the day that it was announced. I was really crossing my fingers and hoping that I would get it. I worked hard in my application. The reason why I really wanted to study here, first off, I didn't think it would be my master's thesis. I mostly just wanted it as an experience for an undergraduate student. Having to come here and research different outcrops in a different country, way much different than where I'm used to, was something that was very interesting to me, and to obviously learn about different areas in the world, not just focus on New Mexico or the United States.
Some years ago we started to cooperate more closely with Mike Petronis from New Mexico, and we found that the Czech volcanoes are pretty interesting from the global perspective because they have nicely exposed the feeding facies, but at the same time there are still preserved the remnants of the cones, of the original cones, which is quite unique in the world, so that we can really study how the small volcanoes are fed by magma.
What we're doing here in the Czech Republic is really to understand physical volcanology, and what that means is there's lots of different types of volcanology, but in physical volcanology you try to understand the processes that lead to the development of the volcano. Volcanoes erupt, yes, we know all that, but we don't really understand what goes on underneath the volcano because we can't see it. So these projects that we've conducted in the Czech, and this one in particular, it allows us that three-dimensional exposure into the roots. The quarries were in here and they basically took the volcano and cut it in half. And so we're allowed to see that, that internal structure which you don't often see in other places in the world. What we'll have when we walk out of here, we'll have a lot of samples. We'll have, a lot of core samples and hand samples to bring back to the lab. What we do have is a map. And a map is where all geology starts. Before we came here, we didn't have a map. And so what Cindy's been spending a lot of time doing is going around this quarry, it's 500 plus meters of rocks to look at. And she's been mapping that so that we know really the spatial distribution of everything. Because a map is really the most important thing in geology, at least in the type of geology I do and a lot of people do. So we got to know the distribution of the rocks before we can start coming up with interpreting things.